Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, November the 3rd. We do have a big slate today. We got 11 games to go over. As always, guys, we're going to go game by game. We're going to talk through each game on the slate and break down each team. I'm going to try and go as quick as I can. Try and keep this video as brief as possible. So we'll kind of fly through some games. There'll maybe be some games we spend more time on. But as we do go through each game, we will build out just kind of an early core, 4 or 5 guys at first look that do stand out to me that I kind of like at first look at this slate. But before we get started with the breakdown, as always, guys, please do hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well if you are new here. And check out the sponsor of this video, Prize Picks. If you have not signed up for Prize Picks yet and you would like to, Prize Picks is more of a player prop based DFS site. So basically you're just taking the over or the under on the projections that they have available. They have single stat projections, so point, rebounds, assists. They'll add 3-pointers made. And they also do fantasy point projections as well. You can take over or under on a player's fantasy point projection. Now I'm recording this video on Tuesday night. They don't really have a ton of stuff up yet, but obviously, late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, they'll have a lot more projections posted. You can check out their entire board, make some picks for yourself. You can win up to 10 extra money over on Prize Picks. So if you want to sign up for Prize Picks, be sure to use promo code NOAH when you do sign up, and they will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. But yeah, guys, let's take a look at Wednesday's slate. We're going to start off with the Blazers and Cavs game. So looking at the Blazers today, I don't know if there's going to be any standout core plays for me coming from this team, but there are definitely guys you could go to in tournaments like a Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard on a big slate like this should be super low owned. He's been really bad this year. He hasn't been scoring like we've known Damian Lillard to do. We've yet to really see that big 55, 60-point game from him, but we know he's got that upside in him. It is a great matchup against the Cavs. The Cavs are a terrible defensive team. It wouldn't be surprising to see Lillard have a good game here. I think if you're playing a lot of lineups, Dame is someone you want to have in your player pool. For me, just playing one lineup, I don't think I'm going to get to Dame. I don't think I'm going to get to anyone from this Portland team. Again, CJ you could play in tournaments, should be super low owned on this slate. Same with Nurkic. Norman Powell as a value option, I don't mind. Last 2 games, he's played 33 and 29 minutes. Should start, play around 30 to 32 minutes. He's only 4,600. I think he's playable, but there's really no standout plays to me, at least in my opinion, from Portland. Now on the Cleveland side, again, this is another team, for the most part, the pricing feels about right here. There are a couple guys I do have some interest in, though. Colin Sexton, I like quite a bit at 6,300 on DK. His price last slate was only 5,900. I thought he was definitely underpriced last slate. And he had a terrible shooting game, 29% from the field, 20% from 3. Still scored 32 DraftKings points. He played 36 minutes, which was great to see. Sexton has been up and down this year. He's definitely been inconsistent, but I think the minutes will still be there on a nightly basis. It's a good matchup. Portland's bad defensively. They've been playing at a pretty fast pace, or they've usually always been a pretty fast-paced team. So don't mind Colin Sexton at 6,300. Don't mind Lauri Markkanen either. I think without Kevin Love, that does free up more opportunity for Lauri Markkanen. It should secure him for big minutes. And we saw that last game. Lauri Markkanen played 35 minutes, had a really good game, 41 DraftKings points. Honestly, my 2 favorite plays from this game are probably Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen just at first look. Jared Allen, I think without Kevin Love, that does secure his minutes as well. He played 35 minutes last game, scored 56 DraftKings points against Charlotte. Now, this is not as good of a matchup. Yusuf Nurkic is a solid defensive center. Yusuf Nurkic is a guy that can draw fouls as well. So I do kind of worry about foul trouble for Allen, but definitely a viable tournament play. Should be pretty low owned on a big slate like this, but that does it for this game. We can move on to the next one, talk about Toronto and Washington. So in Toronto, we know Pascal Siakam is going to be out. Scotty Barnes is going to be out again as well. So guys like Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, both these guys should dominate the usage on this Raptors team. Both these guys should play massive minutes. You got 37 minutes from VanVleet last game, 45 DK points at 8,500. He feels priced about right on the slate, but I still think in a good matchup against the Wizards, Fred VanVleet is someone that is definitely in consideration for me. And same with OG Anunoby. His price tag is really high, 7,700. We're not used to paying this price tag for OG, but without Siakam, with Lowry no longer on the team, there is a lot of opportunity available for OG this year. And he's been a breakout candidate. I mean, he might win most improved player if he could win that award. I'm not sure, but he's been playing big minutes. He's been really productive this year. It's a good matchup against the Wizards. I think OG's in play even at this high price tag. And then guys like Gary Trent, Svi Mikhailuk, I think are playable too. Gary Trent at 5,100. Without Scotty Barnes, I think Gary Trent plays big minutes. He played 43 minutes last game, took 22 shots. He did have a pretty good shooting game. Gary Trent is a pretty scoring-dependent player. So, he's got somewhat of a low floor because if he's not knocking down his shots, he can put up, 15, 20 DK points, but the minutes are going to be there. The opportunity is going to be there. At 5,100, definitely have interest in Gary Trent. And then Svi Mikhailiuk started last game in place of Scotty Barnes, played 35 minutes, had 33 DK points. You know, Svi Mikhailiuk has never been a great point per minute player, but at only 3,700, if he starts again, I assume he plays probably 30 plus minutes. And in a matchup against the Raptors, or a matchup against the Wizards, which is obviously really good, Svi Mikhailiuk's definitely in play for value. So there's definitely some good plays from this Raptors team. I think Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent, and Svi Mikhailiuk are all solid plays, and all four of those guys are in play for me. Now, on the Wizards side, there's not as much that I like here. Bradley Beal in tournaments, I think, will be low owned on this slate. I don't think I'm going to get to Bradley Beal, but Bradley Beal you could definitely play. Dinwiddie, Kuzma, I don't really like at their price tags. With Daniel Gafford back, really no interest in Harrell with how high priced he is. I just don't like much from this Wizards team. And, again, guys, it's an 11-game slate. I don't want to just say, this guy's in play, because that does nothing for you. So I'm going to try and, take some stands, kind of give you my full thoughts, really, my lineups, who I'm going to be most likely considering. I just don't think I'm going to be on any Wizards today. So next game, we got the Knicks and the Pacers. On the Knicks side, really for me, probably from this Knicks team, it's just Julius Randle, and I think that's it. Julius Randle in tournaments, I have some interest in for sure, because this is a good matchup against the Pacers. Julius Randle has kind of been, a little inconsistent this year. He still has a high ceiling. He still is going to play massive minutes. We've definitely seen some disappointing games from Randle, but the opportunity is going to be there. The Pacers, this year, defensively, I don't think really been that good. Looking at defensive rating, the Pacers, they're bottom 5 in defensive rating. Looking at pace so far this season, the Pacers are around middle of the pack, but it is a good matchup for Randle. He's only 9,400. He's my favorite play from this Knicks team, but the rest of these guys at their price tags, in my opinion, don't really stand out on an 11-game slate. So other side here, looking at Indiana, going to need to keep an eye on the status of Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon, it looks like he's going to play. Right here, just reading this blurb, it said, Malcolm Brogdon said Tuesday he feels good and that he'll play Wednesday. So I'm expecting Brogdon to play. If Brogdon's playing, that really takes me off everyone from this Pacers team. Sabonis you could go to in tournaments. Sabonis should be very low owned on this slate. But with Brogdon back, with LeVert, playing now, that obviously hurts the upside and the ceiling a little bit for Sabonis. The matchup against the Knicks is not great. Everyone on this team feels priced about right. A lot of guys feel overpriced. So I'm just not going to be too high on this Pacers team. So next game, Boston and Orlando. On the Boston side here, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, both have been having great years. You've seen some massive games from both these guys. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, both I still think have lower floors compared to some other studs, but these guys still do have a ceiling. Against Orlando, Orlando is a terrible team. They're terrible defensively. If this game stays close and you get full 36, 38 minutes from Tatum and Brown, they have upside, but on this slate, I don't think they're like top studs for me. I don't know if there's really any priorities for me from this Celtics team. Al Horford's been playing fantastic this year. He's been getting big minutes as well. His price is up to 6,900, which feels a lot. It feels like you're paying a lot for Al Horford. But you look at his game log. The game log's beautiful. At least 38 DK points in every single game this season. He's got 40 plus DK points in 4 straight games. Been super consistent. Been productive. I think if I had to play anyone on the Celtics, it probably would be Al Horford. But really, I don't know if there's any standout plays from this team. And then on the Orlando side, Cole Anthony, he's been fantastic this year, and I've kind of been off of Cole Anthony. I don't think I've played Cole Anthony at all this season, and there's definitely been some slates where I wish I played him. Last slate specifically, put up 61 DraftKings points in 38 minutes. That's his second 60-point game this season. He had 66 earlier this year against the Knicks as well. And I think the floor on Cole Anthony is still somewhat low for a $7,600 player. There's definitely going to be days where you roster Cole Anthony and he puts up 30 DraftKings points and you're just really disappointed. But he does still have a massive ceiling, and he's going to be, the entire offense, this entire Orlando offense is going to run through Cole Anthony, especially, with Fultz still out, with Jonathan Isaac still out. Cole Anthony's going to get a ton of opportunity. He's going to play big minutes. The matchup against Boston's not great. I think at his price point, he's not going to project very well, so he will be very low owned. He was low owned last slate. I guess you could go to Cole Anthony. You could go to Mo Bamba in tournaments too. I don't know if there's any standout plays, though, from Orlando. Franz Wagner's been playing pretty well lately, been getting big minutes. He's up to 5,500, though, and again, the matchup against the Celtics is just not ideal. This is a game that definitely has blowout potential, too. So really, there's not too much I love from this Orlando team. I think we can talk about the next game, talk about Chicago and Philly. Now, this is one I'm definitely going to have some interest in, specifically on the Philly side. Looking at the Bulls, though, the Bulls this year have kind of been a team I've just been avoiding. I really haven't played many Bulls this season. It feels like every slate, they're all priced about right. If not, some of them are overpriced. That's not saying you can't get a good game from Vooch or a good game from Levine or DeRozan at their price tags. It's just going to be hard to predict, which one goes off on a nightly basis, if any of them. Last game, it was DeRozan that had the really good game. He put up 52 DK points in 34 minutes. Like, I guess you could play these guys, but I personally don't think I'm going to have any Bulls in my lineup. I don't think I'm going to go to any of these value plays either. Like Caruso at 4K, you can maybe go to. He probably plays like 25 minutes off the bench, but on an 11-game slate, I don't think Caruso's going to really stand out as a great value. So I just don't like much from Chicago. Now, on the Philly side, this is where it gets interesting. So Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons are both going to be out for today. Obviously, we know Ben Simmons could be out for a while. And then Tobias Harris, he's out for health and safety protocols. So, and Joel Embiid's basically the last man standing for Philly. He's basically their last, big guy standing. And 10,300, probably too cheap for Joel Embiid here. He's definitely a top stud for me just at first look on the slate. I like him a lot on both sites. $48 on Yahoo. I want to try and get Embiid in on both sides just at first look. Now, obviously things can change. The core I give out in this video, it's not a guarantee these guys are in my lineup because we have to pay attention to news. There's going to be news that comes out throughout the day. Guys are going to get ruled out randomly. It happens all the time. I do provide a lot more updated content on Patreon, so if you want to check that out, you can. But at first look, Embiid definitely stands out as a top stud. Going to play big minutes against Chicago. Matchup against Vooch is definitely one I like. Vooch has never really been that great of a defender. Embiid's just going to get all the usage without Simmons and without Harris. And I want to pull up. So let's take a look at last season. I want to pull this up real quick. I should have had it pulled up already. We're going to take Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons off the floor and see what kind of numbers we get from Joel Embiid last season. So let's see here. Let's go to date range, change it to last season, run the query one more time. So Joel Embiid last season played 156 minutes without Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris on the floor, had a 45.5% usage rate, averaged over 2 fantasy points per minute. Just unreal numbers. And the sample size is not like super small either. I mean, he's played 156 minutes with no Simmons or Harris, and he's averaged over 2 fantasy points per minute. I mean, Joel Embiid's my top stud today. He's the best pay-up option on the slate, in my opinion. He should absolutely smash. There's concerns about his health, but he rested last game. He should be full go today. Love Embiid, my favorite play from the Sixers by far. But then we can start to look to some of these secondary options. So without Tobias Harris, obviously you expect Embiid to dominate the usage, but guys like Maxey, Seth Curry, even Korkmaz, maybe Thibault starts here. Like, these guys get some opportunity too now. At their price points, especially with Embiid playing, I don't think any of these guys are going to stand out as like core plays for me, but definitely guys I would want to be mixing into my tournament lineups. I was pretty high on Maxey last slate without Harris and without Embiid. Maxey did not do that well, but I'd be fine going to Maxey here. Should be very low owned. He should definitely get more opportunity without Tobias Harris. Same could be said for Seth Curry. He had a really good game last game without Harris and without Embiid. With Embiid back, you definitely want to temper your expectations a little bit for some of these guys, but some of them are still kind of cheap. Like Korkmaz is only 4,300. Shake Milton's only 3,900. He played 20 minutes off the bench last game. I think he probably gets a few more minutes today. Could be a solid value play, but clearly Joel Embiid is the kind of top play from the Sixers. And then do want to mention Georges Niang as well. So Georges Niang played 31 minutes last game, came off the bench. I assume that we don't know what the starting lineup's going to be yet. Danny Green and Tobias Harris are both out. So there is a chance that Georges Niang could start. Like, they could do Maxey, Curry, Korkmaz, Niang, Embiid. Like, that could be their starting lineup. They could go Maxey, Curry, Thibault, Niang, Embiid. They could start Korkmaz, Thibault. Like, we don't know what the starting lineup is, but I assume without Tobias Harris, without Ben Simmons, without Danny Green, we probably get at least like 24, 25 minutes from Georges Niang. And, last season when Niang did get minutes with the Jazz, he was pretty productive, and I do expect him to play at least like mid-20s minutes today, given how thin this Sixers team is. So he is definitely a solid value as well. I would say him and Embiid are probably my two favorite plays from the Sixers team, and there's obviously other guys you could go to as well, but Niang really stands out at only 3,800. If he comes off the bench, makes him a little bit more risky, but he's so cheap on both sites. He's only $11 on Yahoo. He's only 3,800 on DK. He's definitely one of my favorite values just kind of at first look, but we can go ahead and move on to the next game. I think that does it for that one. So looking at Atlanta and Brooklyn here on the Atlanta side, Trae Young's probable. He's expected to play at 9,500 in a matchup against Brooklyn in what should be a relatively fast-paced game. I think, Trae Young in tournaments makes some sense. I don't love him as a pay-up option today. There's definitely some other studs I do prefer, but Trae should be really low owned. We will need to keep an eye on the status of John Collins. John Collins is currently questionable. John Collins rarely misses games, so I'm not sure what they're going to do with the starting lineup if Collins is out. They might go big and play like, I don't even know. I guess they could just start like Gallinari. Gallinari would probably be the biggest beneficiary if Collins were to get ruled out. And then there would definitely be more opportunity for Clint Capella as well. Clint Capella did get up to 33 minutes last game. His minutes have kind of been a little bit capped this year, but I think if there were to be no Collins, you would very likely get 35, 36 minutes from Clint Capella. And against Brooklyn, a team that we've always targeted with opposing centers, I don't think Brooklyn's going to really be great defensively against centers this year. You know, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Paul Millsap, like none of those guys are, elite defenders. So if we get no John Collins, really like Clint Capella, really like Danilo Gallinari, and then Trae Young in tournaments I think is fine. But those would be the standout plays from this Atlanta team. Now on the Brooklyn side, for me here, it's just KD and Harden, and that's probably it. I don't think I'm going to any of the secondary pieces from Brooklyn. KD obviously has a ton of upside. His price is pretty high. I do prefer Embiid. I prefer Embiid straight up over these guys, but you could definitely go to Harden or KD. Harden's been a lot better lately, which is great to see. He started off the year really slow, started off the year, kind of struggling, but the last 2 games he's put up 56 and 52 DK points. We know Harden's going to play big minutes if it's a close game. At 10-2, he's definitely in play as well. I think KD and Harden are more tournament options, but still obviously studs you could go to. That's really it though from this Brooklyn team. So next game, we'll talk about Denver and Memphis. On the Denver side here, Nikola Jokic, 11,400. He's up there with Embiid in terms of my favorite pay-up options. I'm a big fan of Jokic. He's a guy that, any slate he's on, Jokic is going to be a top pay-up option, and I think that is the case today. Now, we do have a lot of studs. You got Embiid, you got Jokic, you got Towns, you got Curry on the slate, you got Luka on the slate. There are a ton of pay-up options, but Jokic is definitely up there for me. Against Memphis, we just saw these teams play a couple days ago. Jokic didn't have the greatest game, only 49 DK points in 33 minutes. I think that keeps his ownership down a little bit, especially on an 11-game slate. There's not going to be any guys that are massively owned. Maybe there could be some value plays that get a lot of ownership, but ownership does tend to be spread out for the most part on big slates like this. Jokic in tournaments I do like quite a bit, and that's probably it from Denver. I don't think I'm playing any other guys from Denver. I know Bones Highland's been getting more run off the bench, but he's still only playing 15, 16 minutes a night on a big slate like this. We just don't need to go there. There's just going to be way better value to go to. So that's probably it from Denver. Now on the Memphis side, nothing really stands out to me from Memphis. Everyone on this slate feels priced about right. I was pretty high on a lot of these Memphis guys last slate, but, that was a lot shorter slate. Today we have 11 games. Ja Morant obviously has upside. You could play Ja Morant any slate, but on this slate, he's not someone I'm really prioritizing. If I had to play someone from Memphis, Jaren Jackson Jr. might be my favorite play. When these teams played a couple days ago, as you would expect, Jaren Jackson Jr. got into foul trouble, only played 18 minutes because he had 5 fouls in 18 minutes. But if he can stay out of foul trouble and you do get, 30, 32 minutes from Jaren Jackson Jr., at 5,500, he is very likely to pay off this price tag in a big way. He was on pace for probably 35, 40 DraftKings points last game had he not been in foul trouble. So if you play Triple J, just know there's foul trouble concerns, but if he can stay out of foul trouble, he definitely can blow this price out of the water. He's my favorite play from Memphis for sure. But that's probably it from this Grizzlies team. So next game, Clippers in Minnesota. On the Clippers side, Paul George just continues to dominate every night. Another massive game last game against OKC. 62 DraftKings points, played 40 minutes. Look, he's been fantastic this year. He should continue to be fantastic while Kawhi Leonard's out. He's expensive. He's really expensive. He's up there with Jokic. He's up there with Embiid. But it's hard to argue against what Paul George is doing. It's hard to say, Paul George is never a bad play at this point. Is he going to be a top stud for me on this slate? I don't think so. But Paul George with, how much usage, with how much opportunity he's getting, right now without Kawhi in a good matchup against Minnesota, Paul George does have a lot of upside here. He's definitely a good tournament play. He should be pretty low owned. I think he's the only guy I'm considering, though, from the Clippers. Nicholas Batum I was on last slate. At 4,300, though, he feels priced about right for today. I wouldn't expect 33 DraftKings points again from Batum. Most nights he's going to score, 24, 25 DK points, which is solid at his price tag, but it's not going to, I don't think he's going to project as a top value play today because on a big slate like this, we're just going to have way better value available. So not too much I love from the Clippers outside of Paul George. Now, on the Minnesota side, there is a good amount that I do like here. Karl-Anthony Towns at 10,600, another really good tournament option. Now, I do prefer Embiid just straight up if I'm paying up at center. I think I prefer Jokic as well over Towns, but Towns against this Clippers team should definitely dominate. Whether it's Zubac or whether they try and go small with Batum, like they're not going to be able to stop Karl Anthony Towns. Towns has been great this year. He's shown a massive ceiling. He's definitely one of these guys that can disappoint at times. Like you'll definitely get 40, 45-point games from Towns when, sometimes when you roster him, but he still has a 55, 60-plus point ceiling. I mean, earlier this year, he put up 70 against the Pelicans. We know Towns is going to play massive minutes. D'Angelo Russell is out today for the Timberwolves, so that does, maybe open up a little bit more usage. Just gives even more opportunity for a guy like Karl Anthony Towns. So I definitely like him. I think Anthony Edwards, the price tag is really, really high, but without D'Angelo Russell, there should be more opportunity for Anthony Edwards as well. Now, on DraftKings, I think he feels priced about right. On Yahoo, he looks a little bit more appealing. I think I'd be a lot more likely to play Edwards on Yahoo. He's only $33 at shooting guard. Just looking at the shooting guard position, like he's cheaper than Zach LaVine. He's cheaper than Van Vliet. He's only $1 more than McCollum. I think Anthony Edwards, I'd be a lot more likely to play on Yahoo at that price tag rather than $8,400 on DraftKings. But Anthony Edwards, especially without D'Angelo Russell, does have a pretty big ceiling. But with Russell out, that is going to give us some value. I think Malik Beasley for $4,100 is definitely a value play I like at first look. He's super cheap on both sites. If you're going cheap at shooting guard, he's only $14 over there on Yahoo. I like Beasley quite a bit without Russell. He played 32 minutes last game with Russell out. He's been seeing his minutes kind of increase lately, 27 and 32 minutes the last two games. Malik Beasley is a relatively productive player when he does get minutes. He did have a pretty terrible shooting game last game, only 25% from the field. 25% from three, still scored 24 DK points, even though he couldn't make a shot. I think he's a really good value at $4,100. I don't know what they're going to do with the starting lineup. My best guess is that Jordan McLaughlin starts, and Jordan McLaughlin's another guy we can consider for value if he is starting. He's minimum salary on DraftKings $3K. He did play 20 minutes last game after Russell got injured. I'm pretty sure he did start the second half in place of Russell, so he's probably the most likely guy to replace Russell in the starting lineup, and if he does start for $3K, it's going to be hard to not consider him a really good value play. It's going to be hard for him to really kill your lineup at this price point now. Does Jordan McLaughlin have massive upside? Not really, but he's $3K. Again, if he puts up 20 DraftKings points today, he's still a really good play. Is he going to win you a GPP with 20 DraftKings points? Probably not, but we'll have to wait and see kind of what the ownership is on McLaughlin. If he gets a ton of ownership, I would probably just avoid him because I think there will be better value to go to. But if he's going to be someone that people just don't play, then I definitely like Jordan McLaughlin as a cheap punt value, assuming he starts in place of Russell. And then even though Beasley's probably going to come off the bench, I do expect Malik Beasley to play relatively big minutes, so I like him for value as well. But that does it for this game. Next one, Dallas and San Antonio. So on Dallas today, going to need to keep an eye on the status of Porzingis. Porzingis did not play Tuesday. This is a back-to-back for Dallas. I think Porzingis plays today, but we'll just have to keep an eye on it. Regardless, I don't know if there's too much I love from Dallas. I was very high on Luka. Tuesday slate against Miami. It was a tough matchup, but Luka came in with really low ownership. It was a 5-game slate. Luka was like on DraftKings in the contest I was in, he was like 15% owned. On Yahoo, he was only like 10% owned. If you told me before the slate started that I was going to get Luka at 10% ownership on a 5-game slate, like I was all over that. And obviously, as you would expect, Luka did not do well. 44 DK points. It seems like whenever I play Luka, I just never get a good game from him. Like even when he's chalk, and even though it's a great spot for Luka sometimes, even when I buy into Luka, he just never does well. I probably won't play Luka today, and he'll troll me and score like 70. But on this slate, I think I'm going to prefer guys like Embiid, Jokic, maybe even Towns, Paul George. Like there's a lot of pay-up options. I don't know if Luka's my priority, but obviously Luka's still in play. Outside of Luka, though, like I'm not going to too much else, except Jalen Brunson, I think, would be playable if Porzingis is out again. Jalen Brunson did start on Tuesday with Porzingis and Kleber both out. They kind of went small, played DFS at the 4. He put up 37 DK points in 31 minutes. His price tag feels about right, but I think Jalen Brunson would definitely be in play if Porzingis is out again. But other than that, that's it for Dallas. Now on the San Antonio side, there's really no standout plays from the Spurs. Everyone on this team feels priced about right. There's guys on this team that have upside, like Dejounte Murray, Jakob Poeltl. But on this slate, I don't see too much I love from San Antonio. Again, I don't want to, I don't want to talk about guys just to talk about them. So if I don't really have much interest in a team, I'm just not going to spend much time on it. So we can move on to the last two games of the night. Our two late night hammers, I guess. Charlotte and Golden State. This is one that I like a lot. First off, starting off with Charlotte, LaMelo Ball 8,600. As you can tell by the thumbnail, at first look, I like LaMelo quite a bit on this slate, and I think he'll come in at pretty low ownership given we have 11 games, given where his price is. Even though he's been playing really well, I don't think he picks up a ton of ownership at his price. So love LaMelo on both sites. Pretty affordable on Yahoo too. A little bit cheaper there, only $37. He's looked great the last few games. He's been getting more minutes as well, which I said. I've been saying LaMelo's going to play 33, 34 minutes. He's not going to play 25 minutes a night. And surely enough, the last 2 games, 33 minutes for LaMelo, 34 minutes, 52 and 57 DraftKings points. He has been, he has been struggling with fouls this year. He's been getting in foul trouble a lot. But when he stays out of foul trouble and he gets 33, 34 minutes, the ceiling for LaMelo is massive. He's a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. He can score, he can rebound, he can get assists, he can get defensive stats. This is a great game environment. This should be a very fast-paced game. So far this year, Golden State playing at the 3rd fastest pace in the league. Charlotte, I believe, is a top 10 in pace as well. Let's see where Charlotte is. Yeah, Charlotte's playing at the 5th fastest pace. Golden State, 3rd fastest pace. So these are 2 top 5 teams in pace going up against each other. Love, I don't really game stack, but man, this is a game I think you can definitely load up on. There's a lot of guys I like. LaMelo, though, is the priority for me from Charlotte. Miles Bridges at his price tag, again, I love the game environment, but I don't think I could pay $8,100 for Miles Bridges. Really, LaMelo's my favorite play from Charlotte. On the Golden State side, though, there's definitely a good amount you could go to here. Steph Curry, 11-1. He's expensive, but in a great matchup against Charlotte in what should be a very fast-paced game. I mean, Curry has a ton of upside here. We know Curry's going to dominate the usage on this Warriors team. He's someone you could obviously go to. Draymond Green, I like a lot. 7,100 on DraftKings does feel a little bit too cheap for Draymond, and I like him a good amount on Yahoo too. Only $28 over there. We saw Draymond to begin the season kind of starting off the year like on a minutes limit. He wasn't playing massive minutes, but the last 2 games, especially against Memphis, we saw his minutes really get up there. Played 38 minutes against Memphis. Obviously, last game was a massive blowout. I don't think he played at all in the 4th quarter. He would have played way more minutes than he did last game, but even in 26 minutes, Draymond still scored 42 DK points. Like, we know Draymond has triple-double upside. We know he can stuff the stat sheet. He can do a little bit of everything. In a fast-paced game where you should see a lot of points scored here, it's again, like fast-paced. Like, these are the kind of games that Draymond thrives in. He thrives in these games where he can grab rebounds, he can run in transition, he can dish out assists. Love Draymond on the slate, and I think he goes a little bit overlooked. I think he'll get some ownership, but he's not going to be like massive chalk, I wouldn't think. So definitely like Draymond on both sides, like Curry a lot as well. That's probably it, though, for the Warriors. I think from this game, my main priorities are definitely LaMelo, Curry, and Draymond. And then, some other guys you could go to in tournaments. But those are the 3 plays that really stand out from this game. The last one of the night, Pelicans and Kings, both these teams on a back-to-back. We're going to have to keep an eye on some injury news here. Brandon Ingram was out Tuesday. He was ruled doubtful, then obviously got ruled out for Tuesday's game. We don't have an update yet on Brandon Ingram. I think he plays, but we'll just have to keep an eye on this. Regardless, Joe Val, 8,500. I mean, Joe Val just continues to dominate every single night, just continues to smash every single night. Great matchup against Sacramento. He just put up almost 50 DK points against Sacramento when they played, not too long ago. I know the price tag's high on J Val, but he just keeps putting up 50-plus fantasy points every night. J Val's a super productive player when he's on the court. He's going to play big minutes every night. J Val is definitely my favorite play from the Pelicans. And then if Brandon Ingram gets ruled out, I think we can look to guys like Devontae Graham, Josh Hart, Herbert Jones if he were to play. Herbert Jones did get injured in Tuesday's game and did not return, so we'll have to keep an eye on his status as well. But some of these other guys would definitely become viable options if Ingram's out, like Graham, NAW, Hart. Hart I did like a lot Tuesday. I think Hart would be a pretty good play once again if Ingram sits. But if Ingram plays, the only priority for me from the Pelicans is Jonas Valanciunas. Now on the Sacramento side, it's a good matchup. Again, this should be another fast-paced game. So there's some tournament plays you could go to on Sacramento. I think everyone on this team is priced about right. De'Aaron Fox continues to struggle. He had another pretty bad game against Utah Tuesday night. I think Fox is going to have a good game at some point. I keep saying that. At some point he's going to have a good game against the Pelicans. This is definitely a spot where Fox should thrive, given how fast-paced this game should be. So I don't mind him. Don't mind Rashawn Holmes, but there's no standout plays from Sacramento. Sacramento, for the most part, their team just kind of feels priced about right. So that does it, guys. That does it for all 11 games. I think I went through this, pretty quickly. Try to go as brief as try to make it as brief as I could, but still give you guys, a lot of information, break down the slate, and give my full thoughts. Hope you guys, though, did enjoy the breakdown. I appreciate you watching. If you did, click that like button, guys. Click that subscribe button as well. And also, check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. Again, if you have not signed up for PrizePicks, you would like to check them out, be sure when you sign up for PrizePicks, you use promo code NOAH, and they will match your first deposit up to $100. They will basically double your first deposit when you sign up with my promo code. But that's it, guys. Good luck tonight on this slate. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and we will see you in the next one. Good luck, guys. Peace.